Okay.
I just got the list out of it. What was that thing? I was like, I'm gonna reply.
All right, here are your quizzes.
I don't know why you're big like that.
And these were out of 14. And you actually did pretty well. Now, we did have that big bonus, so that helped. Make sure that we get all the corrections made.
What's the score? What's it out of? What's it out of? What's it out of?
No.
14. Thanks for looking at my grades.
I mean, his mom's going, my sisters and grandma and all that. What?
Okay. All right, so you guys did reasonably well, so we're I don't think we need to.
What is this out of?
I don't think we need to go through every problem, but let's talk about the ones that you missed. So who has a question about one of the problems?
What was this out of?
14. Already said that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
18.
Maybe if you paid attention, Harry. It's out of 14, but remember you had that big bonus, so you really want to get your questions answered.
Yeah, it does.
There won't be a big bonus on tomorrow's test. So who had a question? Something you missed and you're not sure of why.
C.
C? Which C?
Two C's.
Oh, one C.
One C, okay. So we're going to write the parametric equations of the line through these 2 points.
So like, see how it's like 1, 2, 6.
So how do we start? Well, we start by setting this up, right? And then we got to figure out what's going to go in those parentheses. So what's going to go here? Either this point or this point. So somebody said let's use 1, 2, -3. That's fine with me. What goes in the second one? Exactly, the directed distance. I don't know how else to say it, kids. The other point does not go in there. And some of you who took the quiz this morning, you put the other point in there. No, no, no. What goes in here is the directed distance or the vector from this point to this point. So what would that be? 5, -1, 3. There's step 1. Now, how do we get from that to the parametric form? We break it up. So x equals 1 plus 5t, y equals 2 minus t, and z equals -3 plus 3t. Is that okay with everybody? All right, anything else on this quiz that we need to talk about? Okay, let's put those away then.
Still nothing. Yeah, my road driveway's away.
And let's take a look at these 2 problems that I put up here on the board. Because because they weren't on the review sheet, and I think they're important problems. Or I should say they weren't on the practice test. They are on one of the review sheets, but I didn't assign that one yet. So let's take a look at these problems and see if we can do them. Here are two vectors, just random made-up vectors. Find the angle between them. Now you have done this before. Not in 3 dimensions, but you have done this before. Does anybody remember how we find the angle between two vectors? Nobody remembers anything about that?
Oh yeah, isn't it side, something?
1/2
Cosine,
base times
cosine,
cosine.
I'm in this way.
Okay,
Tangent.
let's find the dot product of these two vectors. That's good review too. What's the dot product of these two vectors? Here we go. How do we do a dot product? Multiply the x's, multiply the y's, multiply the z's, and add them up. I got 2, did you? The dot product, take that dot product and set it equal to magnitude times cosine. Very good, Reader. So we're going to set this equal to, so let me write it down. Dot product equals magnitude times cosine. Now, what is the magnitude of this first vector? Another review question. What's the magnitude of that vector? The square root of 1 plus 4 plus 9. How do I find the magnitude of a vector? Square, square, square. Add them up and take the square root. So that's going to be, what? 14. Now I need the magnitude of the second one. What's the magnitude of the second one going to be? 16 plus 1 plus 0, root 17, times the cosine of the angle between them. So there's the setup right there. What's 14 times 17? Square root of 238. Now what do I do? Divide. And then what do I do? Second cosine. So if I second cosine 2 over root 238, I will get the answer to my question. So I will do that. I got 82.55. Anybody match that?
Yeah, you see these?
All right, so let's touch base on that one more time. Make sure you remember this now. To find the angle between two vectors, some of you were talking about other things and all that would work. Well, I think that would work. I think I understood what you were saying. Using some old techniques like 1/2 side sine and stuff like that. Some of that would work, but that's going to be way, way, way more time consuming. If you have two vectors, the easiest, fastest way to find the angle between them is to do what? Dot product equals magnitude of the first times magnitude of the second times cosine. Everybody okay with that? Now, on Monday, we talked about equations like this. This is a GTQ. I told you on Monday it was. This is a guaranteed test question. What shape is that? A rhombus?
Nope.
Okay. It's either a circle, an ellipse, a hyperbola, or a parabola.
That was a completely serious answer.
Let's go.
Circle.
Nope. It's a parabola.
Oh my,
It's a
I'm a
line.
complete
It's a
total
parabola.
failure. This is a hyperbola
She got really serious.
in quadrants 1
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh, yeah, we knew
3.
that.
That's totally rhombus, for sure.
Well, if you
All right.
connect the dots, it makes it a rhombus.
Guys, we did 2 or 3 of these on Monday. Please check your notes. We talked about the fact that if x times y has to be 25, x can't be 0 and y can't be 0, right? Those are my asymptotes. There is no way you can multiply x times y and get 25 if one of those is 0. They can't be 0. Those are the asymptotes. We said the center of this figure is always going to be at the origin. And now, since that's a 25, my vertex points will be where? 5, 5, and -5, -5. If that number had been a 49, then they would be at 7, 7. If it had been a -49, which is totally possible, then what would that do? If that number is negative, what would that do? It would put you into these quadrants. And again, you can't be confused by that. If x times y is going to be a negative number, then you have to have one positive and one negative, right? If x times y is going to be a positive number, then they're either both positive or both negative. Now, this one I just told you, we talked a little bit about why it is, but every time in this kind of equation, guaranteed test question, every time in this kind of equation, how do you get your foci? You don't add root 2. You multiply the coordinates of the vertex by root 2, because this is a 45-degree rotation. So if the coordinates of the vertices are 5, 5, -5, -5, the foci are going to be 5 root 2, 5 root 2, and -5 root 2, -5 root 2. We spent time on that Monday. That was only a couple days ago. Whew, okay, all right. So those are 2 that I definitely wanted to talk about because they weren't on the practice test. As you finished your practice test, did you find anything that was perplexing to you? If you look yesterday, in yesterday's class, there are actually 3 videos posted because in your period, we started at the beginning and we got to 4A. So then the next period, I started at the end and I also got to 4A from back, and so then the last period, I started with 4A and got that done. So all of the practice test problems are worked on video. So over the weekend, if you want to spend some time with Mrs. Ford on the video, you can look at that and go through that practice test again. But did you find anything as you were, I'm still looking for it, here it is. Did you find something in the second half? We've already done the first half, so I'm not going back to that, but in the second half. Heidi? 5F. find C, so that C will be some point. Find C so that AC equals V. Okay, so I have point A is 1, 2, 3. Point C, I have no idea. I need to figure that out. But I know that I want this vector to move the same as V does. So I'm going to create a new vector called AC. It's going to start at A, end somewhere. And it has to move like this though, because that's how V moves, and it has to match V. So this isn't too bad if you just think about it for a minute. We're going to start at 1 and move -1. Where will that put me? 0. And then I'm going to start at 2 and move 2. Where will that put me? 4. And then I'm going to start at 3 and move -3. Where's that going to put me? 0. So there are the coordinates of point C. The vector from here to here has to move that way. So 1 to 0 is -1, 2 to 4 is 2, and 3 to 0 is -3. Okay, Heidi? All right, who else had a question about one of the problems on the practice test, number 1? Okay, then let's look at, should be like the next page or so, practice test number 2. There are answers. Okay, here's practice test number 2. Since Heidi just asked about that, let's look at 5G. 5G is the same problem we just did, it just has different numbers. So we want AC, so here's point A. And C, we don't know what it is, we're gonna figure that out. But it has to move the same as U. So whatever vector we come up with, this is how it has to move. So we're going to go from 1 to somewhere, and we're going to move 3. So if you start at 1 and move 3, where will you end up? 4. You start at -2 and move 0. And if you start at 4 and move 2. So there are the coordinates of point C that will make AC match up with that vector. Okay, all right. Okay, do you see anything else on practice test 2 you want to do together before I set you loose to work on this with your neighbor? Anything on there that you think is a little bit perplexing? Maggie?
Could we go over the graph for
4D. Well, they can't just, you gotta start at the beginning. So let's take a look at 4D. See what it is and what's going on there. So let's see, I'm gonna have to go pick the square. factoring out that -4, being very careful to get my signs right. All right, so here we go. Completing the square, this would be a 1 that's really a 9. And this would be a, that's really a, so we have 9y plus 1 squared minus 4x minus 2 squared equal to, let's see if we have another very carefully rigged problem. Oh, we do. So y plus 1 squared over 4, x minus 2 squared over 9 equals 1. So what do we have here? A hyperbola. Where is the center of this hyperbola? 2, -1. Very good. Watch that order. 2, -1. If I'm going to build my box, I'm going to go sideways 3 and up and down 2. So now go ahead and put in my asymptote. It's supposed to be straight lines. Now I need to decide which way I shall open it. What do you think? Up and down. And I'm not sure who said that. Harry, was it you?
Yes.
And why would you say up and down? You are right. Why did you
Because the
say that?
Y's first.
Exactly. So these points right here become my vertices. And remember, you got those points by moving up and down 2. So this would be the point 2, 1, and this would be the point 2, -3. Those are your vertices. This is your transverse axis, and it is 4 units long. This is your conjugate axis, and it is 6 units long. Here are my foci. And I could label them if I knew how far it was from the center to the focus. How far is it in this hyperbola from the center to the focus? Square root of 13. How did we get 13? We added the denominators and took the square root. So now we'll start right here at the center. This is center to focus. So we'll start at the center. And we'll go up root 13. So this will be 2 comma -1 plus root 13. And 2 comma -1 minus root 13. Now we need our eccentricity. Our eccentricity for this hyperbola would be fraction, what goes on the top? Root 13, distance from center to focus, and what goes on the bottom? Center to vertex, which would be 2. Now we need our asymptotes. What's the slope of our asymptotes going to be? Now think about building the box. Up 2 over 3. So one asymptote's going to have a slope of 2/3, and the other one is going to have a slope of -2/3. They are both going to go through the point 2, -1. So we got to write these equations. Got to write the equations of the asymptotes. So if you choose to use point slope, you get the equation y equals -2/3 x plus 1/3. So there's one of the asymptotes. If you choose to use slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, you'll get the other asymptote, which is y equals 2/3 x minus 7/3. That's this one. Did I fill in all my blanks? Yeah. Okay. Keep in mind that there will be a test question that says xy equals -4, something like that. Where's the center of that? What are its asymptotes? X equals 0 and y equals 0. Where are its vertices? Yeah, watch it, we're in these two quadrants this time, right? Because we're negative. So we'd be at 2, -2, and -2, 2. Where are the foci? -2√2, 2√2, and 2√2, -2√2.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Ford,
Yeah,
do you have Annabelle Farmer with you at this time?
I do.
May I have her to the front office with her car keys, please?
Did she hit another car?
No, I didn't.
I just need her to the front.
Are you parked somewhere illegally?
Is this like the second or third time?
Yeah, this happens a lot.
They really just stop. She keeps parking there and she
Where did she park?
Senior lot.
That was all business. She did not like to
Isn't
show.
she a senior?
Yeah, but she didn't. If you
Parking
don't get the
pass
pass in
later,
time,
you
then you have to go and park in the junior lot or the S lot.
Okay.
She did not like that.
One more, I want to make sure, we're clear on. Let's go back to number 5. Now, this is on practice test 2. Let's go back to number 5. And let's find the angle between V and U. So we just talked about this. We're going to practice it one more time. We're finding the angle between V and U. So how do we do this? We do the dot product. So the dot product would be 6 plus 0 plus 8. I got 14 for my dot product, which, by the way, that is question D. Now, what do I know about the dot product? What does it equal? Magnitude of the first vector times the magnitude of the second vector times the cosine of the angle between them? What is the magnitude of the first vector?
21.
4 plus 1 plus 16. Square root of 21? Madeline and Maggie. What's the magnitude of the second vector? Square root of 13, that's 9 plus 0 plus 4. We square, 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 add them up, take the square root, times the cosine. Let's multiply those two together. So what's 21 times 13? 273. And then we will divide. So the cosine equals 14 over root 273. And what will I type into my calculator then? Second cosine. 14 over root 273. All right, I want you to use the rest of the period I don't care what else you have to do later today, it's not important. Right now, this is math, so we're gonna take the rest of the period, I want you to get with a partner, and I want you to start working on stuff. This is due on Monday, this practice test, or Tuesday. This practice test is due on Tuesday. For those of you that are so inclined, there is an additional review sheet in the packet. It is called Chapter 8 Review. You can do it too, but I'm not assigning it. Practice test 2 is due on Monday. Tuesday. Got it? So let's get busy right now.